what I need to start by saying is that ITT and induction for ECTs is going reasonably well for many early career teachers and trainee teachers. So, for example, more are happy than unhappy with their training. More are talking about staying on in teaching than want to leave. But those figures, where they are positive, there's always a kind of the dragging of a fairly long tail of neutral feelings and of quite settled unhappiness about the training. So this is a problem we're seeing sort of across the sector with ECTs and with student training teachers. We've got recruitment and retention figures that are remaining really low, and there seems these features, these characteristics of the things that have been described to us and the things we're learning about suggest a system that is under stress, that's overloaded among student teachers, ECTs, who are taking on unprecedented levels of challenge in the classroom. So we have a real problem with this. I think that our position, my position as a teacher of 30 years standing, but the union position is that this situation can't improve until there is a recasting, a fundamental recasting of what education is all about, what teachers do, and particularly how much ownership they have over the language that describes what they do. And I don't mean the language of teacher standards. That is not much to do with really what teachers are engaging with in the classroom, which is relational. But I think there are some sort of proposals that about ITE and induction that I think I and the NEU can stand behind when it comes to thinking about and talking about what we'd like to see in terms of recruitment and retention. So, and these are based on the evidence provided by ECT, student teachers, in surveys and studies we've either commissioned or carried out ourselves. So we support the principle of an induction program. It's not that we're against it, but we want to see an induction that's formed by a shared understanding, built on sector-wide consultation about what new teachers will need. I think primarily we need better frameworks. We need something that speaks to a more ambitious vision of what teachers do, more generous ways of thinking about pedagogy and the roles and capabilities and the professionalism, to hark back to what Louise was saying earlier, of teachers. There is no evidence of the ECF rollout having had positive impact on recruitment and retention. What is true is that ECTs are continuing to leave at higher rates than more experienced teachers are. And when we look at the framework that teachers have to deal with, it is, I don't want to reiterate what so many people here will already think and know, but this idea, this ingrained model now of top-down instructional kind of monologic models of this instructional transmitter receptor version is becoming ingrained. And I think that teachers always need to be engaged in questions about identity, about what teachers are, what they do. They're encouraged to question approaches, and that's how I learned to teach, and that's what happened when I became a teacher a long time ago. And it doesn't seem to be happening anymore. So I'm sure it is. Of course, there are plenty of places where there's fantastic training, but I'm thinking about the way in which teachers have to be inducted into a fairly narrow pedagogy. I think it needs to be said that there are no unchallengeable orthodoxies about teaching. I think that if we look back to the national strategies of 20 odd years ago, or the Ofsted's three-part lesson and the plenary, these things that were set in stone and that would last forever, where are they now? There is no such thing as a kind of settled one way of doing things. And I think that we need to be reminded about that when thinking about the ECF and the frameworks. And I think that teachers need to see themselves and their experiences in their training, just as a good curriculum will particularly for, for all young people, but particularly for disadvantaged young people. They need to see themselves, their ideas, their beliefs, their opinions, their values reflected in what they're learning about. And I think that that's also true of the training frameworks for training teachers and for ECTs. They need to see their experiences represented in a system, in a model that can't often reflect the context in which they're actually operating. I think there are concerns about the upcoming framework, the ITT CF. I know there are a couple of universities that are concerned about how they're going to be measured or inspected in terms of what they're covering and what the ECF is covering, and those concerns are fairly understandable, given that the framework kind of takes 3 years to come to fruition, if you like, and yet IT providers are being assessed on the first year of that. The other thing about moving on from the ECF is that CPD is something that comes up time and time again in our surveys. It needs to be so much better, particularly when it comes to SEND provision. I think our members tell us that where SEND is going really well for them in their training, it is because of the role of the SENCO and the role of experienced SEND teachers in schools. Not so much to do with what they're getting from the framework training. I'll finish by just talking about some foundational principles of ITE, which we'd like to consider. Firstly, the idea of teachers as intellectuals who take an inquiring stance to their work and make meaningful contributions to the professional knowledge base. That's from USET 2020. It can't be better as a basis for autonomy, professionalism, and teacher agency. The idea that learning takes place in an untidy reality, and that new teachers need, above all, to observe, to try, to reflect, to fail better, and that narrow directives such as learn that can never prompt the kind of reflexive awareness that an invitation to understand how would. I'll wind up there. Thank you very much.